Welcome everybody. Welcome. This is Moonlit Metaphysics and this is episode 7. I'm Alexis and we're just going to give it a couple of minutes so that people kind of stroll on in. If you're already in the chat, let me know if you can hear me okay. Testing. Alrighty. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. This is Moonlit Metaphysics, questions and answers with Alexis about all different types of metaphysical topics. Today is episode 7, and we are talking about the difference between tropical and sidereal astrology. So let's get started. If you're in here, drop a little emoji in there. Let me know. Say hi. Let me make sure my chat is up and on live chat so I can see you guys. So this is a topic that is often brought up. Hi, welcome. This is a topic that is often brought up when I'm talking about astronumerology with my clients. A lot of people don't really know of thought in regards to astrology. Some people are, familiar with the tropical, like I'm a Virgo, I was born in September, that's August 21st to like September 21st or something like that. That kind of concept of astrology is what most people here in the West know. They're not necessarily familiar with the other schools of thought. So I want to dive into that, the differences in particular between tropical and sidereal, because that's what I use when I do astronumerology readings. And over the course of like 10 or 15 years, I've figured out that it definitely behooves us to lean into both practices, both schools of thought, or both types of astrology. And I'm going to get into why. So that's basically what we're doing here today. Okay. Um, Let me get my notes up because they keep disappearing. So yeah, I'm going to share a few different things with you as well. I want to show you my birth chart and I want to show you how kind of profound it is to integrate both of the tropical and sidereal astrology. But first, we're going to talk about like what is the difference? Like, why? Why do we have two? Is it true when people say, well, basically because of where the planets are, you're technically not a Virgo if you're born in the middle of September, um, even though the horoscope says it, you know? Yeah, there is validity in that. So I definitely want to get into the differences between the two schools. Alrighty. So that's basically what we're doing here today. The reason is, like I said, it pops up a lot when in conversation, especially when I'm doing my soul map readings and wealth code readings, and I'm going to show you an example of that as to why I kind of blow people's minds and tell them that there's something that they never thought they were, but it makes sense. And also because there was a combo that came up in the last Moonlit Metaphysics that spoke on wanting to learn the difference. I think somebody was like, "Can you please explain that?" And I was like, "Yeah, bet I got you." So that's why. Again, also my personal perspective on it, that I really think it's important to mix the two. So let's start off with a little bit of historical background, and I'm not going to get too deep into it because this is not a lecture, and I don't want to lecture you, although I have a tendency to lecture. All right, so the origins in Euphrates River area. All right, so this is what we would consider modern day Iraq, Iran, Syria, Jordan, in that phase. So this is where some of the first civilizations emerged, right? Sumerian, Babylonian, the Akkad, the Assyrian, and others, right? So this is kind of where civilization started, not humanity, right? But where the first conglomerates of people started thinking and putting their stuff together and figuring things out, okay? And this is where the roots of astrology can be found. Astronomy as well. At that time, it was kind of one and the same. But moving forward, and from ancient times, empires arose and fell in that area, right? Which brings us to a different time period. So that's the beginning, right? But as we move towards into the future, towards Hellenistic time period, which is what is that? 300 to 30 BC, okay? Especially around the Mediterranean basin region, we find actual texts and much more intricate thoughts being, put, especially in Egypt. At this time was largely written in Greek, hence it being the Hellenistic period. They was kind of running shit at that time. Okay. Moving to the Vedic. All right. So that's kind of like Middle Eastern, European kind of energy and how they morphed their thoughts into a more cohesive school of thought, right? The Hellenistic school of astrology. Um, but then you have a more Eastern school of thought because those places on Earth were simultaneously evolving. Okay. And they're not so super far, but in what we would consider ancient India, the Vedic astrology started popping up. Now, that's an ancient system of astrology. It's kind of heavily debated how old it is, but um, it's deeply entwined with their Hindu philosophy and the Vedas, which is their oldest religious text. The thing is, some scientists will say it's like, oh, it's like 1,000, 2,000 years old max, but there's some astronomical references within the Vedas that kind of date it back to like 6,000 BC. So when the Indian culture says that the Vedas is old, I'm a side with them, and I think that yeah, it is old because there is some evidence within their text that can show that can point to like the differences in the equinoxes and the precession of equinoxes. And I'm getting ahead of myself, but you can kind of figure out, backtrack it, and say, oh snap, this is older than what we think it is. Ancient India, okay? They use a different type of astrology. It's not the Hellenistic kind that was kind of that emerged from Middle East and spread through Europe and Africa. It also they use sidereal. Okay, so sidereal, not a monolith, and this is why I was kind of hesitant to even do this because I am not a Vedic astrologer expert, right? So I'm not going to go into the 700,000, and I say that lovingly, schools of thought that they have because they break down sidereal like crazy. Because again, it is connected to their Hindu philosophy and the religious texts. So there are variations and different kind of understandings of that. And so different people went different routes with it. But for the most part, the same thing, something remains the same within all Vedic astrology, which is the fact that they kind of base it on exactly where the stars are at the time they're looking at them. Um, Again, there's various schools of thoughts and philosophies, each with their own interpretations and techniques, but this is the true evolution of sidereal astrology. We know it in astrology. Okay, I'm gonna get into it a little bit more specifically, but first let's break down tropical. Tropical astrology is what we use here in the West. It's what when you flip over into I was gonna say a magazine, but oh my God, that dates me because when's the last time you flipped open a magazine to read your horoscope? Jeez. Well, whatever website you get your info from, This astrology school bases it on Earth's seasons and the equinoxes, which is different, like seasonal shifts within the Earth, depending on how the Earth is rotating and shifting in space time. Okay. So, depending on where we are, tropical is in relation to these movements, these shifts. Okay. Um, the zodiac signs are fixed relative to the sun's position at vernal or autumnal equinox. And that's why equinox is kind of an important thing for tropical. So the signs are fixed. And that's why we find that, late December to late January is Capricorn and so on and so forth, right? They're fixed. Um, there are strengths to this because remember, I did mention that sidereal is based on where the stars actually are. So there were observational notations of star movements and shifts, and they took that into account in Vedic. Tropical doesn't. There's a reason for that, but for right now, there are still strengths. So when I tell you that if you were born in September, I keep using myself as an example, in the middle of September, September 7th, you're supposed to be a Virgo. When I tell you that technically the sun was not in the constellation of Virgo from our perspective here on Earth at that time when I was born, that's the truth. Whether you want to now like fight with me and, tell me that I'm a Leo or that I'm actually a Virgo or that like I'm very much Virgo energy, but the sun was absolutely in Leo. Does that window? No, we do not. There are strengths to this astrology, this school of thought. And I'm sure 1,000 of you watching this right now, you're like, no, but I totally feel like I'm a Leo or a Libra or a Cancer. I'm totally, I have those characteristics and those traits that are typically associated with that sign. And I'd be like, yeah, I bet you do. You do. I promise you, because I am absolutely a Virgo. But the tropical astrology gives us more of an archetypal description of the signs and the planets. And that's what we use it for and rely on it for. This particular planet is known for this personality type, this characteristic. This particular sign is known for this energy, this feeling, this perception of energy, right? This outward expression of energy that we perceive, that we're like, oh, that person's super emotional. When were they born? Oh, they're a Cancer. Copy. Right? So it helps us with understanding archetypal and characteristic traits of individuals. So it's not not useful. It's absolutely useful. Okay. Again, this is commonly used in Western astrology. I find that a lot of us are shifting more towards a Vedic or a sidereal or just getting interested in it. That's why I'm getting these questions. That's why I'm doing this live. But this is really helpful. Tropical is really helpful for personal insights, personal characteristic traits, personal growth, stuff like that, and general forecasts. Because at the end of the day, we have associated a time period here on Earth, a season, to feel this type of way, and so it does, right? And so mote it be. Um, that's the power of mentalism. So a whole bunch of people feel like winter is cold and withdrawn and the plants are dying, and so we associate, a whole bunch of cultures all over the world associate that season with those exact characteristics and traits. And the seasons depend on the little wobble of the earth we got going on right here. So really that's what tropical astrology is great for. Okay. Helps us know thyself, which is always game plan. Guys, and if I am saying a lot or confusing you, please drop some comments down below and I'll answer them. So let's get into sidereal, which I used to call sidereal all the time for years. So don't worry if that's what you've been calling it. You can keep calling it that. I believe it's properly pronounced sidereal. So, anyways, sidereal astrology is based on the zodiac signs with the actual positions of the constellation in space-time in the sky. So where is the Big Dipper? You feel me? Where's the constellation of Leo? Where's the constellation of Virgo? Oh, copy. It's right here in our vicinity. Now, we can get into the debate of exactly where it ends and where the other constellation begins. And that's kind of why there's so many different schools and variations of Vedic astrology, different houses, different cuts, different cutting up of the skies, if you will. But essentially, sidereal is looking exactly where the sky was. Now, what's super, super interesting of this is, remember, it's 6,000 BC. So 9-ish thousand years old, if you want to believe the interpretations, the dated interpretations in the Vedas, and the fact that the Indian populace agrees that it's an ancient text. So that's crazy because they didn't have telescopes. So it took a lot of observation and time and energy to kind of figure these things out at that time period. And to be so precise, like the mathematical calculations that they have created, that they came up with, both Middle Eastern, the beginnings, the origins of the story, are so mathematically precise to like the tilts and the wobbles and the shifts and the alignments and the precession of equinoxes and all that stuff that it kind of baffles scientists, and I feel like sometimes they don't want to admit that it's that old. But some of the key features of sidereal astrology are, again, the zodiac signs are aligned with fixed stars, offering precise planetary positions. So you kind of know, like, I know I'm talking about that Saturn right there in the constellation of whatever it's currently in. And there's a lot of apps that we have right now, and that's why there's kind of been this intermingling confusion happening, because a lot of the apps that we have to observe the sky are sidereal in nature. They're accurate, they're true. So it's like looking at the sky with a telescope. And sometimes you'll see that the horoscope that you're reading or the astrology person that you're listening to doesn't necessarily match up with the app that you have. And trust me, the app is not wrong. That's factual. That's data. That's scientific analytical data based on a whole bunch of different points and satellites and visual perspectives and just the math of orbital bodies in the sky. And it's more than most likely that the TikTok astrologer is wrong. And I say that as one of them. Um, but this is why I combine both schools of thought, because I feel like I'm such a science nerd, and the rational left brain aspect of me will not allow me to just dilly dally on the tropical astrology and act like the sun ain't where it is. I have to include that in my data. So that's it. It gives you a more, combining the two, and sidereal in particular, it gives you a more precise and detailed story. So sure, I'm a Virgo, but like I'm hot like fire. Like I have very energetic communication skills. My son technically was in Leo, so I understand why that is. I have a few other planets in Leo. Mercury is one of them. So the way that I communicate, yeah, I'm kind of anal retentive like a Virgo, and I store information and I like to truth seek, as a Virgo does. But the way that I communicate and throw it at you is, it's kind of like chill. It's kind of Leo-ish. Not going front. I don't know. What do you think? So I get it, and that's why I use it. That's why I use it. I use it personally for my own self. Is how it started. I was just intrigued, like the nerd that I am, diving into all metaphysical topics like I always do and always have done since I was like a baby. And I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. This is a story that I didn't have. Like, this is like side quest, like story A, B, and C, bullet points to the overarching story. And I'm like, oh snap, this is very important information. Glad I found it. I'm gonna use it for other people. Main differences between the two systems is just that, right? The tropical signs are season based, while the sidereal signs are star based. So it shifts in time. Why is this? Did I write about why this is? I don't even think I wrote about why this is. Essentially, before we took the tropical Hellenistic astrology over to the West and kind of sat here and stood with it, um, we didn't realize that the Vedic astrology was doing their thing, was more scientifically and mathematically accurate. And so the school of astrology over to the West forgot that point. And they were just like, okay, 3,000 years passes and our shit don't line up no more. Because essentially, tropical astrology did line up in the very, very beginning. They were looking at the things, right? And but over the time, science shows us that our movement in space-time, our wobble within our own solar system, our orbital shifts, and etc., will give us a different view of the sky as we move about time. And you know, for example, our orbital tilt gives us a different north star every couple thousand years. Um, Polaris Vega, right? So this, they took that into account, and unfortunately, when they moved that information over to the West, they didn't, and so we have a lapse, and we have a 2,000 some odd year lapse in which the information is shifted. Okay, that's why I think it's important to add sidereal, or to at least do some research on it, especially if you're curious about your like side quests and your little bullet points that are added to your story. All right, just checking chat, making sure there's no questions. Okay, cool. But that's the reason why they're different. Time. Okay, we did that. We talked about that. Comparing the two, I would like to show you a chart now, because here's the kicker. And this is what I think a lot of people don't really understand. That shift, that time that I'm talking about, that's a human construct of what we can see from our horizon line. Like if you're just sitting and you're looking up into the sky, that whole entire piece of sky that you can see with your eyeballs has been kind of charted out by humans, right? And they broke it into 12 sections, which would be considered the zodiac signs, in sidereal based on where they actually are in space. So the sections are not, perfectly shaped, perfectly equally sized. In tropical, they are. They're fixed. But it's a snapshot of what we look at when we're looking up into the sky. Okay. Um, the thing is, here's the kicker. Let me show you. Let's share. Awesome, Nisi. Keep it going. As you can see, I kind of also just like got out the shower and threw some conditioner in my hair, and we said, let's get it going. So we're in alignment. But I'm going to share screen right now, or screen share, I should say, right now, just to kind of show you why that human construct of how we broke it up kind of fucking doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Please let me know if you can see this screen share, because last time I did this, it did not. I did something wrong. Okay, we are in here. I can see it. Okay, so this looks like this is happening. Okay, this is an actual page of my soul map reading. For someone named being blanked out, this is like a template page, right? Okay, but this is somebody's actual birth chart information, and we see here the this is the tropical. Okay, so if you've never seen a birth chart, welcome to a birth chart. This is kind of a nice and simple and clean one. I don't like to work with a whole bunch of bullshit, especially when I'm sharing it with clients. So this is as clean as a birth chart can get. And if this looks complicated to you, let me try to explain the best I can. So these houses right here, these would indicate our astrological houses. So again, you're in the middle and you're looking up into space. Let me see. Let me view tab Canva. You're right here in this middle dot, this middle section, and you're looking up. And what you see is this space around you. And it's been broken down into houses just to make it easier on our lives. And we've broken it down into 12. That's pretty much across the board for all cultures. Um, in doing so, this has become known as the astrological houses. Each one of them has, in tropical, right? They each have their own correspondence, characteristics, identities, areas of life, things they relate to, etc. Same with the planets, same with the signs, right? They overlap those as well, by the way. But anyways, and then we can see the outer circle indicates where that house is in regards to the constellation. So, for example, my first house, or not mine, because this is not mine, but this first house kind of starts in Scorpio. So, this first house is in Scorpio. The second house starts in Sagittarius. This third house starts in Capricorn. Within this third house, we have right here Venus. Venus is in Capricorn in this person's chart, in the third house. You understand? So, this is kind of what we are seeing on the tropical, okay? On the side right here, on the right-hand side, I have the actual degrees and where they are. So where was Venus? Venus. What does this say, Pisces? Oh, that's not Venus, that's why. Because I'm crazy. That's Mars, and this is Venus. Ha! My bad. So, all right. So Mars, as we can see, Mars is in Capricorn. I got the female and male signs mixed up. Mars right here is in Capricorn, and our Venus is over here in Pisces. That's funny because I just watched Austin Powers the other day, and they're very clearly, explicitly explained. And that's the indication on the right-hand side right here. It's just kind of listing where everything is. Chiron is over here in Aries. Chiron is 20 degrees in Aries. It's showing you right here. This is why I do both. Watch this. Do you notice something about their sidereal version of their astrology chart? And I'm gonna zoom out. Yo, what's up, Bronx Switch? So this is the kicker. This is why I do both sidereal and tropical when I'm doing readings. It's the freaking same. So all that different. It's different. It's weird. I'm not a this. I'm not a Scorpio. I'm not a that. Okay, here's what it is. When you look up in the sky and you look at what the things are doing, they're still doing the exact same things. I don't care if you're using the old school 2,600-year-old at a date thing where the houses are slightly shifted, or you're using the more accurate, scientifically, mathematically accurate sidereal astrology where things are actually where they are. These aspects, the relations that the planets are making with one another, are literally exactly the same. Literally. And what I found, and to be honest, is with the outer planets, more than most likely, they're even in the same houses for the most part. Okay. It depends. But for, like, Saturn, Jupiter, the outer planetary, Pluto, things like that. Like, where's Pluto? Pluto's in Libra, Pluto's in Virgo. Okay, so they're shifted slightly on this one. But I often find that the outer planets can be exactly the same. And it's those inner planets, your sun, your moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, that are slightly shifted. But the story is the same. What do I mean by the story? The important plate transits are the same. The moon is trine Uranus in both of those charts. Mercury is sextile Chiron in both of those charts. Both of those charts. It does not matter. So the story is the same because we're using tropical astrology characteristics. Remember the personality traits, the archetypal information from tropical astrology to break down what the planets mean, what the signs mean, what the houses refer to, and we're applying it to the actual real life sidereal information. Either way, Chiron was sextile. What was it? Chiron was sextile to Mercury. Either way, that tells you the same story. Absolutely, houses are different for sure. But aspects are the same. Houses shifted, right? That's what makes sidereal and tropical different. That shift in the precise, exact houses that tropical has clicked onto, and the wobbly houses that depends on where things are in space and time, as sidereal shows us. Wait, I want to go back. So I encourage you to pull up both versions of your chart, because these slight little differences, remember, like I told you, this is like side quest story bullet points to your destiny information in the sidereal, and it's absolutely worth giving it a shot. Kind of like the way I explained that while my sun is in Virgo in the tropical, it's actually in Leo in the sidereal, and I could totally understand why. It also notes that astrology and numerology go hand in hand. So when I'm doing that, that's why I add the degrees, and that's basically a page of the soul map. And I get into combining both of them, but it makes sense that my number 7 power number, born on the number 7, which is very introverted, intellectual, research oriented, tech savvy, into truth seeking, it aligns with my Virgo energy very much so. And that's kind of why I ignored my life path 3 energy, which is more outgoing, communicative, bubbly, inspirational, and wanting to share information to the masses, um, because that actually connects with my Leo. And once I was able to see little similarities like that in the chart, I was like, wow, no, this is important information. And this is, again, for the umpteenth time, why I include it when I do personal readings for people, for my private clients. But does anybody have any questions? Because I just went in. And I would love, if you have actually pulled your sidereal and you like are like iffy about it, because don't get it twisted. I get people who are hardcore. This chart in particular that I just showed you, hardcore Scorpio, hardcore Scorpio. Um, but it turns out that they weren't. To learn, and their intuitive gifts and all that stuff that I go through in a soul map reading points to why that is so important information to also have. It tells the rest of the story. Yeah, man. It absolutely does. Yeah, thank you, Nisi. It takes a lot of pressure off of trying to find the right chart or the right system, the right school. I don't know which one I belong to, because which one's right? Because, like, it's the same shit. um, and all honor, and because I did not break down all the different types of Vedic astrology schools that there are. I don't even think that I took note of that, because it's like it's 20 plus, 30 plus different types of thoughts, detailed chart analysis, depending on, like, they do a lot of like marriage, and like compatibility stuff in Vedic astrology, and all that kind of shifts things, and it's a lot. But at the end of the day, where the stars actually are, and your tropical chart, which is also where the stars actually are, are the same. It's just that the tropical has shifted its houses a little bit, 26 degrees a little bit, and it's different. But it still tells us stuff about our archetype. Absolutely Virgo energy. Bronx Witch. Absolutely agree. And that's an interesting thing, because Bronx Witch is actually, if you don't mind me shouting you out, you're a Leo sun, right? And there is so many differences between us. I don't identify as a Leo sun. See, she's laughing. I don't identify as a Leo sun, but I sun was. Does that make sense? I hope it does. I'm a Virgo sun. Yeah, because it's just about archetypal types, right? Virgo, I am. Wow, you went even into a totally different. Okay, so that's like ancient Jewish, if I'm not mistaken, astrology, and which kind of stems back to the ancient Sumerian, ancient Syrian, not Syrian, yeah, and Babylonian, ancient Babylonian in particular. Like they were the ones who actually came up with numerology too. So that gets really crazy and just give me a telescope, show me where the stars is at, we'll figure it out. I love me an app. Actually, I'm going to tell you what app I use. I think I paid for it, but I paid for it like a one-time payment thing, so like it's not crazy. Sky Eye Pro. Also, I have Android, so I'm just gonna stop this conversation right now before everyone with the iPhone shits on me and tells me that there's better apps. Okay, Bronx Witch says finding out that she was a Virgo moon rising and Venus in sidereal. Wait, I knew the moon. Okay, yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. Yes. I can't remember everybody's charts all day, but now I'm recollecting, and absolutely, that is the reason why Bronx Witch is the boss witch that's out there and being amazing. But that Virgo shit keeps you in check. God bless. God bless for you. Because although I'm a Virgo sun, I do not have Virgo up in my chart like that, unfortunately. It's a mess around here. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, okay, awesome guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Yeah, Nisi, that school is very complex. But I encourage you guys to dive in because there are some things that you can. There's more to me, and Sidereal absolutely helps you figure that out. Thanks for joining me, guys. Love you guys. I'm gonna peace out. If you guys are local, just dropping this in here. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., I'm gonna be in Soundview Park in the Bronx doing some sound bowl sessions. I have 2 classes this summer. Tomorrow's the first one. August 17th is the second one. So if you can't make it out there, you might be able to make it out to the August one. Very chill vibe. Very chill. Not don't come. There's nothing special. Bring something to lay down on, a blanket, a towel, a air mattress. I really don't care. As long as you're comfortable, I will be playing sound bowl starting at 11 a.m. for about 45 minutes, lulling you into a state of relaxation and rejuvenation. And you do need to RSVP though. So I believe there's link in bio, but I will direct you to my website, click on events, and you'll be able to click on the date you want to RSVP on and straight up RSVP. I will post them in the Coven feed, actually. I'll do that right now when I get off. Thank you so much for that reminder, Bronx Witch. Chill vibes all day. You already know. I love me a sound bath. It's all about the vibes. Colors, sounds, crystals, numbers, all about the vibes. I love this. Okay. Love you guys. Thank you so much. See you next month. I can't remember the date, but it's going to be the Friday before the full moon. And peace out. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.